Okay, so the attendees from Bermuda have joined us again, which is exciting. And Gareth is here also to join us. So let's begin. I might hello.
Hello.
Hi. Oh, hi, Gareth. It's very nice to meet you. I'm Ellie. I'm actually Sarah's sister. Yeah, and we've been running the workshop together, but she's had to fly off because she had to go and get the last flight out of Gibraltar today, and so she's really sorry that she can't be here. But we're really pleased you are, and we're very grateful. We've got a room full of about 40 people here in Gibraltar, varying in age from 9 to 17, I think. Thank you very much. 9 to 19, and we've been working on the topics that I think you might know, that there's been writing topics for a competition that we're about to launch into, and lots of different ideas, from ghost stories, mysteries. Yes, Gareth, I think it might be right up your street, and so we're really looking forward to meeting you and talking to you, and we're very happy for you to introduce yourself and introduce as much as you want of yourself to the group, please.
Okay, hello everybody. Yeah, can I give a wave, please? Have a wave. Hi, excellent. Are you all having a good day? Thumbs up if you are. Thumbs up, you're having a good day. Excellent. Jolly good. Well, it's very nice to be with you here this afternoon. My name is Gareth. My name is Gareth P. Jones, and I know this for a fact. It's written on the front of this book here, Gareth P. Jones. And as I'm sure you know, you get your name on the front of a book by writing the book. This is the first book I ever had published. It came out in 2007. By the looks of the room, that's before most of you were born. There we are, not before I was born, of course. So this was called The Dragon Detective Agency, The Case of the Missing Cats. This was the first in a series of 4 books, all about a dragon who is a detective. Now, I was inspired to write this story by watching squirrels. Do you have squirrels over there where you are? Do you have squirrels?
No.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. I generally find, what's that?
We have Barbary partridges and apes and
Right.
monkeys. We have a lot of monkeys.
Lots of monkeys, excellent. And I was watching squirrels jump, and I saw 2 squirrels jumping over a man's head. And as soon as I saw 2 squirrels jumping over a man's head, and the thing is about it, is the man didn't notice, because I was looking out from my window and I watched this happen, and I thought that's quite a good inspiration for a story, and I like the idea of there's something happening above our heads, something that we're so preoccupied by life we don't notice. But I didn't want to write about squirrels, so I took those squirrels as the seed of my idea. I planted the squirrels in my imagination, and they grew into dragons, and I decided that they would be dragons jumping from rooftop to rooftop. And at the time I was reading a detective book, didn't think that hard about it, and so I made it a dragon detective. Now, when I first came up with this idea, I decided, of course, it needed a case. The dragon detective needed a case to crack. Now, where I live, there's lots of signs everywhere saying missing cats. Well, people lose their cats, and so I thought, well, what if the dragons were stealing the cats? And then I had a problem, because I had to work out why. As you know, as writers, it's always about asking questions and trying to solve these little problems. Why would the dragons be stealing cats? Is there somebody there who can give me an answer to that? Why would dragons be stealing a cat? To eat them. Now, the one thing I had established is that the dragons in my books are vegetarians, so I couldn't go with that answer. Has anybody else got another answer? Why would the dragons be stealing the cats? Yes.
Because they want company.
That's a lovely answer, and isn't it amazing? Your hand went straight up. I didn't come up with that as an answer. It's a perfectly good answer. I asked this question yesterday in the school. I had various different answers. I think somebody mentioned they want them as a pet. Somebody said they had a vendetta against the cat. Somebody else, right at the back of this hall, put their hand up and said maybe they need to use them as some sort of sponge. I was like, what? They're going to use their cats as a sponge? Now, what I think is amazing about writers of your age is that you're able to put your hands up and come up with answers and solutions to these problems straight away. At the time in my life, I wasn't a full-time author. I wasn't even a part-time author. I wasn't an author at all. And so what I did is I just stopped writing. I just stopped writing that book and I walked away from it. And it wasn't until my wife found the document on my computer and she read the first 3 chapters where I got to before I realized I got stuck. And then she said, oh, this is good. You should send this off. And then a few months later, I met Sarah. I met Sarah at a lunch, and she very politely said, I mentioned a book that I'd written, and she politely said I could send in the 3 chapters. I sent in 3 chapters and a synopsis. Do you all know what a synopsis is now? Do you all know what's... A synopsis is a bit like a blurb. Synopsis tells you what's going to happen in the rest of the story. But I wrote a very vague synopsis because I didn't know what was going to happen in the rest of the story because I'd only written 3 chapters. And Sarah, bless her, offered me to publish 2 books based on those 3 chapters. And so I thought, well, I better finish that book then. So I then wrote 4 books in this series. Now, I'm going to quickly show you some of the other books just to get a quick introduction to me, and then I'll take questions. Having written 4 books in the Dragon Detective Agency, I then started writing other books as well. I then wrote a book about a pair of twins trying to kill each other. That is the book here.
Oh, that was great.
Thank you. Again, Sarah being the champion she is, as far as I remember, I said to her, I've got a book, I've got this idea. And it was just an idea about a pair of twins trying to kill each other. And Sarah just went, yes, write that. These days, they'd ask sales and sales would say, oh, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, Sarah just went for that. And I'm glad she did, because this book is still in print, which is not true of all of my books. Great. And after that, I then went on to write other series. Now, sometimes, as you know from the writing you're doing today, sometimes you get ideas not just from yourself, but you get ideas because people set ideas. They give you themes. Now, this happened with a series of my books called Ninja Meerkats. Now, just to get a check you guys are all focused. Can we all just do this now? A ninja goes like this, all together. That's good. And then a meerkat goes like this. And so if you get the 2 things together, you go, ooh. And that is your basic ninja meerkat. These are the ninja meerkats here. There are 10 books in this series, and there are about 4 ninja meerkats. And the idea for this series wasn't mine. I had an email called Ninja Meerkats. Who would like to write Ninja Meerkats? The email went out. It got sent out to various authors. And I thought, that sounds fun. I'd quite like to have my name on the front of a book saying Ninja Meerkats. And so I wrote the first chapter and a few ideas of how the story went. And that ran to 10 books. After I'd written that series, I then, after that series, I was out playing with my son. Now, another way I get lots of ideas, apart from watching squirrels, is from playing. And I was playing a game of pirates. And me and my son were playing pirates. Like that, like pirates. And then another kid came to join us. And we were playing together. And then occasionally, in the middle of the game of pirates, and as you can see, I know how to play pirates. Occasionally, this child would stop and go... I am a robot. I am a robot. I am a robot. It's like, why have you turned into a robot? This is a game of pirates. And then he turned it back into a pirate and we carry on. Now, I was beginning to get annoyed with the fact he kept going off script. And then I thought, oh, hold on. Robot pirates. And so I wrote a series of books about robotic pirates inspired by that random kid in the playground. And that ran to 4 books. Don't think they're in print anymore, but they were fun to write. And then after that, hands up if you have a pet. Hands up if you've got any pets in the room. Anybody got pets? Oh, lots of pets. Keep your hand up if it's a dog. Yeah, put your hand up if it's a cat. Put your hand up if it's a something else. Put your hand up if you've got a something else. I've got a something else. I've got a tortoise back there. That light over there's a tortoise. What have you got? What pets have you got in the room?
It went mad in here. Somebody mentioned turtles. So, how many people have turtles? How many people have a turtle as a pet? Okay, you've got 3 hands out. That's quite a lot of hands for a small room like this.
Turtles. How many of them are Teenage Mutant Turtles? Oh no, different. That's yeah.
Anyway, cat. How many people have cats?
Wow.
How many people have dogs?
Excellent. Now,
We have a pet dog in Bermuda.
Oh, really? Oh, a pet dog. That's excellent. Now, the way I often find a good way to work it. We have a pet dog. I see the message now. Yes.
Sorry, Gareth. Gareth,
so
you've excited the room. We're just going to have to quieten down for a minute. Just everybody back to the screen. Thank you.
It's not uncommon that when you bring up pets, everyone starts talking because everybody loves their pets. Everybody loves dogs. And so I didn't have a pet at the time, but I knew that people liked pets. And as you know, you get ideas from asking questions. And the question I asked is, what do your pets do when you aren't watching them? What do your pets do when you're watching? Now, you can ask that question and you could end up with the film The Secret Life of Pets, which you may have seen, or you can end up with the film The Secret Life of Pets 2, or you can end up with my series, Pet Defenders, in which pets are fighting aliens. Now, I'm just wondering, because I'm sitting at a piano here. Can you hear this piano? Let's see this. Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because as well as writing books, I also write songs. So I'm just going to do a little bit of this song for you for the Pet Defenders. There are 6 books in the series. Now it starts off with an alien noise. It goes like this. And ideally, at this point, I'd like you all to go like this. Woof, woof.
Woof, woof, woof.
Woof, woof. Okay, now, it's always hard to do this online. Goes like this. Please calm down, don't panic or be manic when I tell you that this planet is currently under attack. From an alien species come to blow you to pieces and serve you up with cheeses as a late night fondue snack. Don't get involved, the planet don't revolve around how you've evolved. No, there's nothing that you can do. No, take a vacation, leave the alien invasion to the organization here to protect you. They're pretending to be friendly. All the time they fight those deadly enemies. They're the pet defenders, yeah, the pet defenders of Earth. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. Now, I'm almost, I tell you what, the thing is about me is as well as writing books, I write songs. And a little while ago, I started writing raps. So this is the rap for this song now. Look at you in your natural habitat, the dogs in the basket, the hunting where the rabbit's at. Look at you sitting there all oblivious, you don't seem to care about the problems of the universe. You don't know what you don't know. Well, goodbye to the guy with the UFO, cause the girls fly by making you forget. The little green man shooting at your beds, they got your bags, so back and relax. This ain't going down like Mars attacks. The cat's eyes are wide open. They're gonna stop the world from going to stop. You're like, where you been with your bloody paws? Be not fun, the real Star Wars, yeah, they're gonna defend us, the social defenders, the cheer for the pet defenders. You get the idea. Yeah, that's my song for. Oh, I don't need I don't do it for the applause. Thank you very much. That's my song for the pet defenders. But all of my books have songs, and they all. That's what I do now. I write books and I write songs. And I mention this not just in case maybe some of you feel like you're musical and would like to write a song to go along with your book, but because I also find it extremely helpful when I'm coming up with ideas, because sometimes I write books that are spooky, and so I'm always thinking about what the song would sound like. Hold on, I need to go back to my piano sound. Oh yeah, so sometimes my books sound like this. I end up with spooky books, and this is a spooky book. This is a book called Constable and Toop. It's a book about a boy called Sam Toop. He lives in London, and he discovers that the haunted houses of London are losing their ghosts, and it's down to him to try and get ghosts back into houses. And he comes up with a rather sinister way of doing that. That's one book. I've already mentioned the twins trying to kill each other. They came back again in this book, The Thornthwaite Inheritance. This book is about time travel. It's kind of about, I'm doing a school visit on Monday where they're focusing on this because they're talking about the future. Although this book is kind of a thing of the past because it's not in print anymore. This book won the Blue Peter Book of the Year. It's a book about a girl with a family secret. That one, yeah, that one sounded like this. That's how that book sounded. And that's a tune that I wrote in order to write the book, because sometimes I put on bits of music that help me conjure up the world that I'm writing. The most sinister looking book of mine is this one, and it's called Death or Ice Cream. Death or Ice Cream. You're thinking that's a strange book with a strange title and a strange cover by a strange man. Then you're absolutely right. This is a very unusual book, I think. And I think it's quite unique in lots of different ways as well, because in a way, it's short stories. But in another way, it's one complete novel, because they're not short stories. They are, they all link together and become one complete novel. Two more series I just want to mention before we go to questions. The Dragon Detective Agency, you might remember me saying at the beginning, I said the first ever book I had published was this one. And as we've established, sometimes books come in and go out of print. This one went out of print in 2015, which is a sad thing. However, in 2020, it came back into print, and it now looks like this. And as you can see, the Dragon Detective Agency became Dragon Detective, and the Case of the Missing Cats became Catnapped, and Gareth P. Jones remained Gareth P. Jones. And then my most recent series is this one. And this is called Solve Your Own Mystery. And in Solve Your Own Mystery books, they are sort of based on sort of books I like to read when I was a bit younger. And I like to read Choose Your Own Adventure books, where you get to decide what happens at the end of each chapter. Can I get a show of hands? Has anybody ever read a book where you get to decide what happens at the end of a chapter? Some of you, yes, some of you have. Excellent, that's good to know. And I used to love reading those books when I was young, but the one thing I didn't like was the dead ends. I didn't like being thrown out of the story, and I don't like the idea of throwing my readers out of a story. And so I came up with this idea, slightly cracker's idea, of I thought maybe I can write a series of detective books in which you are the detective, and in which no matter, you get to choose who to follow and who did it, but no matter which way you go, you get to an ending. Now, I said there an ending, not the ending, because the difference with these books, as well with most books, is these have 3 different possible solutions to every mystery, and there are no dead ends. So no matter which way you go, you will find one of 3 possible solutions. Now, hands up if you like to do a plan before you write. Hands up if those of you who are big planners who like to draw a plan. Hands up if you just like to start writing and then work out what the plan is as you go along. Yeah. I'm the second one. Hands up if you're a bit of both. Yes. Now I am a bit of both, but mostly I just start writing and I see where I go to. And you can imagine if you're writing books like this, that's not probably the best way to go about it. It'd be rather better if I was planning them, but I don't plan, and that's the way it works. So there you are. That's a bit about me.
Well, I think some people in the room might have read some of your books, which is really nice. There was people say, "Oh, I've read that one. I've read that."
Oh, wait.
So, Frances,
yes, I can.
please
Hi.
introduce yourself. Frances,
Hi, Gareth. I've also been working with the kids this week. I'm also edited by Sarah, luckily enough. Nice to meet you.
You
So I
too.
think I'm just going to leave some of the questions. So I'm going to start off with one question for you, because quite a lot of the kids this week have been saying that they get writer's block sometimes. And I know you mentioned that you did get writer's block when you wrote the Dragon Detective Agency. Do you have any advice for our young writers about how
other than just stop writing and walk away and wait till your wife notices the story? Yeah, I do have better advice than that. Yes. So writer's block is, a perfectly natural part of being a writer. I don't know very many writers who haven't at some point felt stuck. And really the trick I find works for me is, and I'm sure lots of writers say this, is go and do something else. Go for a walk, you may have a sleep, wake up. And sometimes I've spoken to lots of authors, you wake up in the morning and suddenly your brain has resolved a problem. I spoke to an author last week, and she said she had a book she started years ago and then couldn't get anywhere with it, put it away, and then woke up one morning a couple of years later and realize how to write that book. So your brain is often working away, your subconscious is often working away, so give it time. The other thing I do, as you've established, is I play a lot of music. So I sit at the piano, I pick up a guitar, I pick up a trumpet, or I start playing whatever instrument happens to be to hand, and then I write a song. This year, over the last 12 months or so, I've been writing a different song every day. I've been writing a song a day. That's been my plan. I get up in the morning, I get an idea for a song, normally from the wonderful world of Twitter. I normally take somebody's tweet or someone's comment that somebody's made, and then I write a song. And that sort of jump starts my imagination. So I'm ready to dive into the day. It equally, I see it's a massive distraction from writing. So it's a bit of both. Yes. Next question.
I think we've got a hand up in Bermuda, have we? I'm just going to ask them to unmute. Do you want to ask a question?
Yes. So my question is there something else you wanted to be before you was a writer?
Well, I've always wanted to make stuff up because I'm much better at making stuff up than I am at telling the truth. I do occasionally have other jobs. I sometimes work in television, and when I work in television, I tend to work in rather boring daytime television. And to be honest, you're not supposed to make stuff up in that sort of job because it's all factual stuff. And I have only occasionally been hauled into an office and told off for making up the name of a village, got broadcast on BBC One and annoyed all of the villagers who actually lived in the village. I don't know what it's called really. I don't know, made it up. So I'm much better at making stuff up. But yes, I did in the 1980s. Those of you who are old enough to remember the 1980s, we loved graphics in the 1980s. We loved the word graphics. We like graphic equalizers. We like the idea of graphics on computer. So I wanted to be a graphic designer because it sounded cool. And then I learned what that is and realized that that's not for me. So no, really, I've always wanted to make stuff up. I do lots of other things as well as write books. But yeah, this is where my heart, my enthusiasm, and my absolute passion is writing for children.
It's great. Thanks, Gareth. And do you find that the songs come first for you and then the books come from the songs?
No, it comes both ways. Sometimes the one that I did, the Pet Defenders one, I remember that series. I found it an absolute nightmare to write. I found it really difficult. Those of you who are writing stories about animals, good luck. I'm sure some of you are writing stories. I don't like writing stories about animals, partly because they haven't got hands, and it's really annoying because I always need them to do something. And like their tails have to do a lot of work, steering wheels and things. I'm having said that, I think I'm in the middle of a book about cats, but that's different. They're cats, so it's fine. I struggled massively. And also, if anybody ever writes books about aliens, again, I find it really hard to write books about aliens because I find it hard to make something up that I believe in, and that's the only way writing works for me. If I can make something up that I obviously, I believe in it. I believe it could be true. And whereas with an alien, you sort of go, oh, it's a Bibbly Mom from Diddlylang. And then he's got 8 heads and 6 eyes. And it just sounds all made up. And so I have to ground it in something. And so it took me a long time to write that series. And during the time of writing that series, I spent a long time writing that song, which is why the rap came in, because it was just like, well, I'm still writing the book. So let's keep writing the song.
Oh, great. Okay, does anyone else want to ask some questions? Do you want to ask? You need to shout quite loudly. How old were you when you did your first book?
My first book. Well, I remember how old I was when I wrote my first story. I was probably in year 5, so what would that be, sort of 9 or 10. And I sitting in class, and I got told off for talking. Hands up if you've ever been told off for talking, folks. Thank you. And the adults, you know you have. Yes, that's right. I got told off for talking. Although as you've seen now, I'm quite a chatty young man. I'm quite a chatty person. I on this one occasion, I got told off for talking, and it wasn't me. It was somebody else. Hands up if you've ever been told off for talking, and it wasn't you. It was somebody else. Yes, the absolute outrage that you feel. The outrage. And I was indignant. It was me. They told off me for talking. It wasn't me. It was, Jeff or whatever it was. And I got told, and I was furious. I was really angry. Hands up if you've ever felt angry or bitter or jealous at school. I don't know if you've ever felt like angry and sad. Yes, yeah, we all have. And it's a horrible feeling, and it burns you up from inside, doesn't it? But then my teacher said, we'd now like to do a bit of creative writing. And so I was all angry, and she went on to tell us other things we could have written about. But I already knew what I was going to write about, folks, because I'd been given a piece of paper, a pen, and a sense of injustice. And so I sat down that day and I wrote the story of the boy who got told off for talking, even though it wasn't him talking, miss. And I wrote this story, and I was all angrily writing it away like that. And I totally got lost in this story. And then I heard my teacher say at the end of the lesson, hand your work in to me. I looked at what I'd written, and I looked at my teacher, and I was like, oh no, this is very clearly an attack on my teacher, which I'm now going to have to hand to my teacher. And so I gave it to my teacher at the end of the day. Was shaking hands like that. And my teacher took the piece of paper. I'm very shaky today. And then I went home, and I was all worried about it until so I went to bed worried. I woke up the next day worried. I went into school the next day worried. And then I went back into my classroom. My teacher had done her marking overnight. She handed me my work back. And as you know, teachers often do lots of underlinings about misspellings and all that sort of stuff. But she'd also written a comment to me, and it just wrote, she'd written, "Dear Gareth, I'm sorry, I thought it was you, your teacher." And I just went, oh, phew, like that. And I just felt relief at the time, and I forgot all about that story and all about that thing until years later I became a published author, and I started telling this story. And then I started thinking, well, what was I doing? And of course, what I was doing, or the young me was doing, was something I would recommend to each and everybody here. Now, I would say, next time you feel angry or bitter or jealous or like life is unfair, which it is, next time you feel that, don't let it burn you up from inside. Take it and turn it into something. Turn it into a poem, turn it into a sonnet, turn it into a song, turn it into a story.
That is really good advice, I think, for everyone here. I think we've got another question from Bermuda, haven't we? Guys, do you want to ask your question?
Okay. Did you go to university or college before your career in writing officially blew up?
I did. I went to Manchester University. I studied English language or literature. Interesting. I mean, it's only interesting to me, I think. Interestingly, there was a very good module on fiction writing, and I didn't take it. I wasn't interested in taking it at the time. I spent a lot of time sitting with a guitar, playing songs, learning the guitar. I spent a lot of time reading literature and writing about literature. I wasn't at the time in a place where, I think a little part of me thought, I don't need to do a course to do that. I think maybe that's what it was. After that, to be honest with you, I did do writing courses. I did, when I came out of university, I then got a job in telecoms, and then I started evening courses with a wonderful children's author called Cara May, and she was very inspirational for me. So I did do courses and things like that. But yeah, during that university period, I don't know, I suppose maybe I was focusing more on reading rather than writing at that point in my life. But no, I still, to this day, I don't know why I didn't feel like it was worth going on doing that creative, because then I could have just written a story and handed it in as coursework. But and I'd written stories before then. But yeah, anyway, it was after university really I started to think, I want to do something with my writing.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Yeah? Do you want to stand up, or do you want to come up and say your question?
Yeah.
I think you should come up so that Gareth can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can. They're going to come up and ask you the question.
Excellent.
Come and say hello.
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 You can go first.
Okay, cool. Okay. So you like sing, and like, do you sing to your like child? Or...
I tell you what, my child sings to me. I was going to show you the picture books. That's reminded me. Oh, I left them in the bag. Stay there. 1 second. Hold on.
He's coming back.
Right. So, as well as writing the books that I've shown you, I've also managed to get a few picture books off the ground. And a little while ago, a couple of years ago, my daughter got a toy rabbit, which she put in a princess dress. And as soon as I saw a toy rabbit in a princess dress, my writer brain said, Rapunzel. And so then I wrote a story about a rabbit with extremely long ears called Rapunzel. And Rapunzel, as you can see, gets locked away in a high hutch, just like Rapunzel. And just like Rapunzel, you say, you let down your hair. With it, Rapunzel, you say, let down your ears. And it's a sort of feminist, animal-based retelling of Rapunzel. That's what this is. And then, as we've established now, I got really into songwriting, over the last sort of 18 months. Since the pandemic, really, I got really into songwriting. And so I wrote an entire musical on this. And then last year, I took it to Latitude Festival and Green Man Festival and Witchwood Festival. And my daughter, who was 7 and is now 8, played the lead role of Rapunzel, and she sang the main tunes, some of which are quite sad,
Wow.
and some of which are quite hard. So yes, my children sing to me.
That's great. Okay, who's next?
Do you do puppets?
Do I do puppets? 1 moment. Okay. Now, the thing
They've
is,
heard about this. They've heard about these puppets.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't think she was going to join us, but there we are. That's who are these people doing? This is Dolores. Could you say hello, Dolores? Hello, everybody. How are you? Okay, is that your voice today? That's my voice today, yeah. As you can see, my ventriloquism is really excellent. What are you talking about? Nothing. Why do you keep moving your lips when I'm talking? Very distracting. Yeah, it is distracting, isn't it? Do they want some advice? Not from you, I don't think. Anyway, so you don't know what to say, do you? No, I'm lost for words. Are you indeed? Okay, so yeah, this is Dolores, and recently online, Dolores has been helping me my songwriting. Yes, she's been writing songs as well. Yeah, so we do a lot of songwriting together, and she often sings them because I've got a better voice than you. Yeah, you have. Usually got a lower voice than you. You do have a lower voice than me, which is weird, isn't it? I don't know if it's that weird. Anyway, nice to meet you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye. Do you want to ask your question? Come here. Let's do this so we can see
Can
you.
we be best friends?
What's that?
Can we be best friends?
Can we be best friends? Yes.
Yay!
Yay! Best friends. BFFs. Nice. You can, if you want to hear some of the songs that I write, you can go to my YouTube channel and you can find those. Probably the easiest way is to type Gareth P. Jones and see videos, and that'll take you to the YouTube channel.
Right. Do you have any time for a couple more questions?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
I think we've got one more from Bermuda. Hello. They hear us.
Have you ever thought of implementing yourself and or your family in your books?
Include what? Putting myself into the books or my family into the books?
Mm-hmm.
They always inform them and help solve the problems, but I don't think not sort of lock stock like that. I do wonder. I mentioned this book, Rapunzel. Now, in this series, you have Rapunzel, you have Cinderella, and you have Snowy White. And in Rapunzel, the only real male character is this rather arrogant young hare who falls in love with Rapunzel and says, I shall marry her. And then in Cinderella, you have this rather arrogant male dancer called Travis, who's the prince of the disco floor, and he's like, hey babe, I'm the best dancer of the disco. And in this book, the Snowy White, you have the rather arrogant show-off who Kingsley, the king of the catwalk cats, who likes to walk up and down the catwalk, showing off how very beautiful and fine he is. I wonder whether possibly there's some autobiography in that. Maybe I'm putting myself in as the slightly arrogant and annoying male character. I hope not, but you know, it's a thought that's occurred to me. But I don't know. I think, you know, quite often my absolute best moments of writing, whether I'm writing songs or whether I'm writing books, are the moments where everything that happens around me feeds the writing. Yeah, and quite often I sit on a bus and I write on a bus, partly because it gets me away from all the musical instruments that want my attention all the time. So I sit on a bus writing, and then I go, you need a character name, don't you? And somebody steps into the room, and then you go, and I just look and I see a street sign, and the street sign is just the perfect name for that character, and I go straight into the book like that. So lots of my characters are like that. The names come from the things around me or the people that I'm surrounded by. So these things do get they all. That's my absolute perfect moment. I know it's writing well when everything around me feels like it's a sign that I'm doing the right thing.
Thank you. We might have time for one or two more. Should we take two more questions? Oh, hang on, I'm just going. Okay, do you want to ask? Do you want to come up?
Yes.
Yeah, if you start.
What's your favorite book that you've written?
Well, it's really hard. I asked that yesterday in the school, and I listed them all because I do like them all, and they all have a special place in my heart. I think though it depends because if you're, you know, it's hard to compare this book, The Lion on the Bus, with this book, Death or Ice Cream, because they're quite different kinds of books. They're trying to tick very different boxes. But I would say in terms of the picture books, I think my favorite probably is Rapunzel. I just think as the pun worked very neatly. I think the story works very nicely. I think the pictures are amazing by the amazingly talented Loretta Shower. And I'm really, you know, I'm trying to get this musical off the ground at the moment. So I'm quite excited about that. I think with the series books, probably my latest series I'm most excited about, because I think it's unlike. I don't think anybody's done this before. Whenever I go out with other writers, I'm talking about this series, and you know, they look at me in a slightly bemused way as I say, I've reinvented the book, and they go, have you? And is that a good idea? But yeah, because there's no dead ends, and you know, there are three possible solutions. I just think it's unlike another book you can pick up. And the same thing with this. I don't think there is any other reading experience there are other great short stories, there's other, you know, weird stories but I don't think there's any reading experience quite like this in terms of how it works. And I was in a school this week where somebody came up to me afterwards who'd read this. It's always nice when people have read my book, and I'd been saying in the assembly about how it works, about how each short story sort of leads on to the next one. And then I said, so somebody said, how does it fit with the ending? And I said, well, I think the ending works. And she came up to me afterwards and says, I read it twice and it does work. I had to read it the second time to understand how it worked, but then it did work. And I was like, oh, that's nice. You read the book twice. So those are some of my favorites.
Oh, that's great. Do we have one more question? Do you want to come up?
Okay, so how many books have you done of the Dragon Detective series?
Well, it's 4 books, and they were originally published, all called The Dragon Detective Agency, The Case of the Missing Cat, The Case of the Wave Professor, The Case of the Vanished Sea Dragon, and The Case of the Stolen Film. And then they came out again with entirely new covers and new titles. So only 4, but depending on how you look at it, maybe 8. But one key thing about this is I always talk about editing. I guess you guys must have put a lot of thought into editing your work and how to make it the best possible. And my speech used to be that it's worth editing and editing and editing, because then you get this, the final version of the book. And this is, you hope, is the best version of the book that this could be. I mean, you wouldn't want to change a word. And then, 15 years after this had come out, I got the chance to republish it, which meant I got this sent back to me as a Word document. And so when I came to bring this one out, I inevitably look at that Word document, and I looked at some of the sentences and thought, I think I could make that better. And I looked at some of the bits of the dialogue and thought, I could pep that up a bit. And so actually, as much as that is the same book, it's slightly different. Even the first page. And I find first pages, I endlessly edit them until eventually somebody has to take it out away from me. But even the first page, I think even the first sentence is slightly different in that one to this one, but only by a full stop. I just thought, maybe it's a long sentence. So yes, so 4 of those, but like I say, they've been re-edited, and so they're new again.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gareth, for coming to speak to us. We better let you go because we've got to go as well quite soon.
Excellent. Well, good luck. Thank you so much. Good luck with all of your writing and all of your reading, everybody. Thank you very much, you guys.
Bye.
Next time I come and do it in person. See you later.